Imagine walking through a crowded street in New York City. People hustling, cars honking, and sirens blaring. Now, imagine that, in the midst of this chaos, you begin hearing voices calling your name, or seeing things that no one else notices. This is the reality for millions of Americans living with schizophrenia, a mental health disorder that is often misunderstood. Schizophrenia isn't just about hearing voices. It's a complex condition that affects the way people think, feel, and perceive reality. Yet, despite its prevalence, many misconceptions surround it, making it harder for those who suffer to be understood. Today, we're going to break down what schizophrenia really is and dispel some of the most common myths. What is schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is a chronic, severe mental health disorder that affects around 1% of the population worldwide. In the United States alone, that's roughly 3 million people. It can make everyday tasks, like holding a conversation, going to work, or even leaving the house, extremely challenging. At its core, schizophrenia distorts reality. It affects a person's thoughts, emotions, and behavior, often leading to hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. The symptoms can vary greatly from one individual to another, but they all share a common thread: a disconnect from reality. Misconception number 1. Schizophrenia is the same as split personality. One of the biggest misconceptions is that schizophrenia is the same as split personality, or dissociative identity disorder. You may have seen portrayals in movies where someone with schizophrenia has multiple personalities. But that's not what schizophrenia is at all. Schizophrenia doesn't involve a person switching between different personalities. Rather, it involves a breakdown in the ability to distinguish what's real from what's not. A person with schizophrenia may experience delusions, false beliefs, like thinking they're being persecuted, or hallucinations, like hearing voices or seeing things that others don't. But they don't have multiple personalities. Misconception number 2. People with schizophrenia are violent. Another widespread myth is that people with schizophrenia are inherently violent or dangerous. This misconception is often perpetuated by media and crime dramas, where characters with mental illness are depicted as aggressive or unpredictable. But the truth is, most individuals with schizophrenia are not violent. In fact, people with schizophrenia are more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. Studies show that only a small percentage of people with schizophrenia engage in violent behavior, and this usually happens in cases where the person's symptoms are not being treated, or when they're also struggling with substance abuse. The vast majority of individuals with schizophrenia are simply trying to live normal lives while managing their condition. Misconception number 3. Schizophrenia can be cured. Many people believe that schizophrenia can be cured with medication, but that's not quite accurate. While medication, particularly antipsychotics, can help manage symptoms and improve quality of life, there's currently no cure for schizophrenia. It is a lifelong condition, but with the right treatment and support, people with schizophrenia can lead fulfilling, productive lives. A great example is John Nash, the famous mathematician depicted in the film A Beautiful Mind. Nash lived with schizophrenia for much of his life, but with the right support, he went on to achieve incredible success. His story illustrates that, while schizophrenia is a challenging condition, it doesn't define a person's potential. Misconception number 4. Schizophrenia is rare. Another myth is that schizophrenia is a rare condition, affecting only a tiny portion of the population. The truth is, schizophrenia is more common than most people realize. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, about 1% of the population will experience schizophrenia in their lifetime. This is roughly the same percentage of people who will be diagnosed with conditions like bipolar disorder or multiple sclerosis. So, while schizophrenia might seem less talked about, it's actually a much more common condition than many other mental health disorders. Misconception number 5. People with schizophrenia can't function in society. Some people believe that individuals with schizophrenia are incapable of holding down a job, having relationships, or living independently. While schizophrenia certainly presents challenges, many people with the condition lead successful and independent lives. Take a look at people like Elin Sachs, a legal scholar who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Despite her condition, she became a tenured professor at the University of Southern California. Her story, along with many others, shows that with the right treatment, therapy, and support, individuals with schizophrenia can thrive. The importance of understanding. The key to changing these misconceptions is understanding. Schizophrenia, like any mental health disorder, is not something to be feared or misunderstood. It's a medical condition that deserves compassion, support, and proper treatment. The more we learn, the more we can reduce the stigma that often isolates those living with this condition. If you've never met someone with schizophrenia, it can be easy to buy into these myths. But those who are living with schizophrenia, like anyone dealing with a mental health challenge, are more than their diagnosis. They're people with dreams, talents, and aspirations, just like you. Conclusion. Schizophrenia is a complex, multifaceted illness, but it's also one that we can understand better by breaking down the stereotypes and misconceptions. It's not about being violent, being a genius, or having multiple personalities. It's about a person's struggle with reality and the need for support, treatment, and compassion. By educating ourselves and spreading awareness, we can help reduce the stigma that makes it harder for people with schizophrenia to get the help they need. Let's start by recognizing the truth and treating mental health with the respect and understanding it deserves.